JC here with another Pacific Fen Spotlight. Now today's show, a little bit overdue. It's supposed to be done back in January, but here it is, April, and finally getting it done. I went to Oricon last year in November and got to interview Tricky Pixie. Now the members of Tricky Pixie are Alexander James Adams, who I'm sure my loyal viewers will know is a big favorite of mine. S.J. Tucker. Fantastic singer, dear God. And of course, Betsy Tinney, who plays that cello like you would not believe it. It's like she makes love to it. It's beautiful. And I got a chance to interview them at Oricon. It was a lot of fun, and here it is.
All right, I'm here now with Tricky Pixie, starting from left to right. Betsy, Sue, right? Suge. I'm horrible. Flog me. No, and of course, Alexander. First of all, you guys are fantastic. I apologize. Forgive me my fanboy moment, but oh my God! Okay. Now that I've gotten that out of my system, first of all, I've seen Skinny White Chick, that of course being Betsy and Suge, and then Alec, you have your own following, and. How did you guys just get together as Tricky Pixie? I mean, how did that happen?
I'll give you the version of the story that I told at the Folk Alliance conference last February. We had this booking thing where you had about 2 minutes to sell yourself to this panel of people, to let them decide if they wanted to book you for a show. And so I walked in and I said, "Once upon a time, as I traveled the world, I met a fiddler named Alexander, and he sang me a song about a fairy tale minstrel." And he said, "Do you want a fiddle player?" And I said, "Yes, please." And then I met a cellist named Betsy, who sang me a song about an alligator. And she asked if I wanted a cellist, and I said, "Yes, please." And Tricky Pixie was born, and then we tread the boards and the twilight roads alike, singing our pirate songs and pirate stories, and telling our songs and tales for the wild and the merry.
I would have picked you just for that alone.
Yeah, you'd think that would go over better than it did, but I'm not bitter.
Not at all.
No. We could get more than just my perspective on that, though.
Of course, I would love to get.
Do you remember it differently?
My perspective was, well, not too far different. I mean, once upon a time, there was a wandering fairy tale minstrel who wandered into a magical fairy world. Literally, that was what it was called, was fairy worlds. He wandered in, and people said, "Oh, there is this fabulous siren voice. You must go and listen." And so this fairy tale minstrel wandered through the fairy worlds, and sure enough, there upon a stage was this little wee pixie, with a guitar almost bigger than her. And yet, she opened her mouth, and this incredible voice came out and filled the whole forest. And the fairy tale minstrel went, "Ooh, sparklies." And you know how it happens when your mouth just starts working before your brain engages, and the next thing
Every show I do.
And the next thing I know, the mouth is moving, and I hear the words coming out saying, "Oh, great, wondrous fairy singer, pixie type sparkly thing, would you like a fiddler? Because I'd like to play with you." And I was very lucky. She said yes and forgave me my gooberness. So
So you had your fanboy moment then?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I totally did.
You were not a goober.
Betsy, how about yourself?
Well, actually, I've known Alec for, 12 or 15 years at this point. We played together in a band called Gaia Consort, and that's how I met him. Then Suja and I started playing together several years before Tricky Pixie was born.
Also sort of because of Gaia Consort, but not really.
Yeah, that's sort of a side story. They opened for us. Suge opened for Gaia Consort, and that's how we met. But
I thought Betsy didn't like me, but she proved me wrong.
I was just focused.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, after we had seen Alec play at Fairy Worlds, I started thinking, this would be really cool to, and I wasn't even thinking about forming a band. I was just thinking of getting Alec to come and share a concert with us. And I think that kind of started gears turning. And anyway, the next thing I knew, Suge is emailing me going, "What do you think of the name Tricky Pixie for a band? What do you think?" And I was like, "That sounds great, but who?" And she's like, "Dingbat. What do you think?" I'm a little slow sometimes.
Now, I've noticed in your concerts here at Oricon, I've seen you Alec, you had your own concert. Skinny White Chicks had their own concert, and Trixie Pixie had their own concert, and you guys shared a concert with Vixie and Tony. And really, honestly, this weekend it just seems like one big huge concert with a couple of 2-hour breaks in between.
Yeah.
It's called polybands.
Well, it worked quite well.
Eat, sleep, play. Eat, sleep, play. Eat, sleep, play. Music.
She's eager for this con not to end, I think.
Always.
I do have to ask though. I've noticed Trixie Pixie played some of Alex's work, and vice versa. And what is? Do you guys? I mean, do you guys write songs specifically for Trixie Pixie, or do you just take your own songs and share them together? Or
yes, all of the above.
All of the above. Okay.
There are a few songs that we've the three of us separately come up with that have been just the exact thing to put into a Trixie Pixie show, and we had so much material already between the three of us, leaning heavily to this end of the interview right now with me and Alec.
He has this large gravitational force of fandom behind him. So.
But yeah, and there's so much material that we have to draw on before we even thought about this, that the new stuff is gravy, and it's fun gravy because we get to interpret it for the first time as the three of us. And the original idea was for us to have as much fun as possible, and we've continued to do that. And when we notice that we're not having fun, as happened a couple times in the recording studio in the past 2 weeks, and it just barely, and it wasn't anyone getting upset with anyone. It was just we were getting tired, we've been working too long, and we were being too hard on ourselves, and the other two are going, no, you're fabulous, but it kept happening. And we realized, okay, no, it's time to go have dinner and go to bed because we're not having fun now. And it's my hope that we can continue to do that.
Now, I do have to ask one. Alec, you have your song "Creature in the Wood." Mm-hmm. Suge and Betsy, you have, what was that song after that?
Daughter of the Glade.
Daughter of the Glade. Now, I have to ask, was that your song before you met up with Alex, or did you write that specifically as a sequel, as it were?
An answer to Creature of the Wood, yes.
Okay, and so now Creature of the Wood, Daughter of the Glade is now a Trixie Pixie song together, as just, because I noticed when you guys played it, it's a different song, but you just sails right into it, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, actually, that came very early in the formation of Pixies. When it was like in our first rehearsal, it was really kind of cute because
so scared.
They came down to rehearse, and we had not really rehearsed yet, and we were doing stuff, and Suze was kind of shifting in her chair, and Betsy's like, "No, you should do it," and she goes, I don't know, no, just do it. And
sing it for him. Sing it for him.
And I later heard that she was nervous that that I would get angry because she was doing something that was too close or too following to Creature of the Wood.
Oh, I just was worried it wouldn't be the right thing.
So anyway, so here she is. She plays this, and I have the honor of, normally when we get up on stages, we know what we're doing. We're full of ourselves, and we walk up there and take over, and that's the end of it. It's very honoring to have a fellow artist actually show signs of nerves. and there was this smallest, tiniest little just spark that said, wow, I'm scared to do this. And she did this incredible song that my jaw just sort of dropped. My metabolism went sky high. I broke out in a hot sweat. And I'm not a smoker, but I really wanted to smoke something after I heard the song. And I was flabbergasted. I couldn't even speak, and I think she misinterpreted the not speaking for being angry, because I just sat there and went,
No, I knew you weren't angry, but I was really worried when I brought it up, because I remember very timidly asking if anyone had ever written an answer to Creature, and you said, no!
Nope.
And you sounded really, really positive about it, so I said, okay, here it is, this is mine, you want to hear it? Okay, good. And we played it, and
she launched
it was
into it.
Exactly the right thing.
Fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And he was like, oh boy, smoke him if you got him now. That was when I knew I was in a good band.
Well, when I first heard that song on Friday night, and I'm like, wow. Okay, I mean, obviously they collaborated on this, obviously they agreed to this, but that song is just too close to Creature of the Wood. That has to be, they planned that. That was a planned thing, and it's a beautiful thing. It was wonderful. Fantastic song.
I scream and shout so you can hear. I tell you that the end is near. I still can't stand, I still can't think. You win me with my favorite drink. Give me that glass, oh, I feel asinine. And if I can't grump, I'll drink plum wine.